As a recovering alcoholic with almost 5 years of sobriety, I was sort of pissed off at Steve for assigning me the idea of drunk and not sober. And then I got really pissed off because I can't do anything to take the edge off. I just sit in a sober rage and wait for all the feelings to pass, hopefully without hurting anyone in the process. And that's when it hit me. We need to drink. We need those moments of relief. Imagine a world where no one ever got drunk. We'd fucking kill each other. Sure, if you end up having a problem, you can always deal with it later and get sober and learn some life skills. But first, we must get drunk. And here's why. We all think horrible thoughts, destructive thoughts, thoughts that are coupled with our emotions, and then we tailspin into a downward spiral that leads us to a mental hell. The paranoia sets in. Maybe we think everyone hates us. Maybe we're hating ourselves. And right before we're about to snap, we have our first glass of wine, or pint of beer, or maybe a mixed drink with a skanky piece of bar fruit in it. That warm feeling alcohol gives us as it slides down the tube that connects our mouth to our stomach. I know it's called the esophagus, but I like calling it a tube. Well, yeah, that warm feeling, it's like the hand of God is stroking our hair, telling us that everything is going to be okay. And then depending on our tolerance, whether you need 1 or 2 drinks, or if you're like me, you might need 14, eventually you just start to not give a fuck. All those negative, worrisome theories you had in your head when you were sober, they're gone. The alcohol wiped them away like an eraser on a chalkboard, and now that you're drunk, you have a whole new perspective. Positive and more logical thoughts come rushing to your mind. You feel so great you can't believe how shitty you were feeling before you got drunk. The drunk you begins to mock the sober you. Like, ha ha ha, sober self. Look at me now. I'm so full of confidence I'm gonna dance on the dance floor and there isn't even a dance floor. You can easily feel drunk. All you have to do is swallow some fermented fruit juice or malted grain. If you want to feel good in sobriety, you have to exercise or do volunteer work. Such a fucking pain. But all I think it's mostly about our emotions and our thoughts. So let's say while you were sober, you were obsessing about whether or not your significant other loves you or not. When you're drunk, just fuck the person you're sitting next to. Who gives a shit? Or let's say while you're sober, you're thinking about your mean, evil fucking boss and how he mistreats you and how you maybe want to shoot him in the face. Now that you're drunk, who gives a shit? You call your boss and tell him that you're gonna shoot him in the face. Don't hold it in, it's not healthy. Or a lot of us, we think about our body. Maybe we think it's like ugly, or maybe we think we're too fat or too skinny. Or like maybe we think our boobs are weird because they're just lumps of fat sitting on our chest. Or maybe if your penis is bent, you're worried that girls won't like it. This is when you go to a bar, you get drunk, you take off your clothes, and you ask people about your boobs, and if your penis is super disgusting or just a little disgusting. You let the public be the judge. Make your gross body their problem. I'm sure we can all look back on the best times of our lives, and most likely a few of our favorite memories involve being drunk. And that's because we say yes to things when we're drunk. Hey, you want to jump off the roof and try to land in that pool over there? Yeah. And then you do it and no one gets hurt. You're superheroes! Or maybe your friend says, hey, you want to go to Vegas right now? I get comped rooms at the Golden Nugget because I'm a Golden Nugget member. And you're like, yeah, I love the Golden Nugget. And then you go to Vegas and you don't remember what happens, but you get texts like, hey, it was nice to meet you. I have your shoes if you want them back. Or maybe you get an STD and you learn a valuable lesson. Or maybe a picture or two will pop up and you're like peeing in one of those huge water fountains in front of the Bellagio and you get to pat yourself on the back for being so free-spirited. And just think of all the sex we'd miss out if we didn't get drunk. If we stopped drinking, I bet the human race would die out because we'd all be so aware of how disgusting everyone is, we would never have sex with them. The human fucking race is at stake, people! And looking back on our drunk history, I'm pretty sure people have been getting drunk since forever ago. Do you guys like that sentence? Sometimes I don't feel like coming up with fancy ways of telling you that people drank a long time ago. Sometimes I hate writing. Anyway, I wrote that. So I Googled a few things and the drunkenness dates back as far as 10,000 years before Christ. And then he showed up and he turned water into wine and got so shit-faced he told everyone God was his dad. And then without Jesus telling all those drunk stories, he wouldn't have become famous, and then all the judgmental hypocrites we have today wouldn't have anyone to worship or misinterpret. Interpret. I almost said it right. Okay, let's look at other famous boozers. Ernest Hemingway. One of his most famous quotes, here it is, an intelligent man is sometimes forced to be drunk to spend time with fools. I concur, Ernie. Now that I'm sober, I don't want to talk to anyone. It's horrible. And Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, Stephen King. Do you know that Stephen King doesn't even remember writing Cujo because he was on a blackout? And that's like the best Mean Dog movie ever. And Betty Ford, God bless her. She was a huge drunk, and if she didn't get drunk, she wouldn't have gotten sober, and then there wouldn't be such an amazing place for drunks to go to get sober. We must get drunk even if it means we'll end up sober. And in closing, I'd like to remind you that although I referenced alcohol a lot, the feeling of being drunk can go beyond wine and spirits. You could be drunk on power, you could be drunk on sex, you could be drunk on poetry. And if you work hard enough in recovery, you can even be drunk on sobriety.